All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's lovely to see you all, as always. And let's start by going straight into the superpower state. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state however you normally do that. By using your word or phrase or your anchor, or by homing in on your subject and everything you love about them, imagining holding them in your arms in a hug. Very good. And now imagine that light or energy shining out from your heart. Feel your chest expanding. That beautiful expansion feeling, like stretching your arms. Stretch your chest or your heart and allow that light, that energy to shine out. And now allow that light or energy to shine, spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. And allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each cell just for existing. Very, very good. And now allow that light, that energy to fill the little you, yourself as a child. Fill that child with that light, that energy, that love, exactly as they are, no matter what. And now allow that little you, that child, to use their own superpower, that light, that energy, and flood your whole childhood with that light, that energy, shining that light into any darkness, filling everything and everyone, every event, every circumstance, loving it all exactly as it is, without needing it to change. That's the power. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill everyone in this group, everyone who's on camera, all those who are off camera today. Fill everyone in the group with that same light, that energy, that love. Loving each one just for existing, and allowing yourself to receive that love from everybody else. Loving you just for existing. Very, very good. All right, you can open your eyes if you have them closed. And we'll check in with each person. Before I check in with each person, I wanted to read a message first of all from someone who sent me an email who can't be with us today. Sylvie sent this message. Hello, Odille. I am working in Paris this week and I cannot be on the calls. Thanks to the recordings, I can keep on working my ESC, which is the superpower. Being in Paris means being with my mom and a lot of practice of unconditional love as I get triggered a lot. Could you please add me to the target list of this evening? And it would certainly soothe me. Thank you and best wishes and love to the group. So I wanted to pass on those best wishes and love. And I also wanted to, the reason I've read her full message is because we've added her to the target list. But in addition to that, this is, it brought up a point that I wanted to just make sure that everyone is aware of, and that you remind yourself. And also when I check in with each person, so that I can, if you let me know if you're having an issue with this bit. So it's just a reminder that the power behind this superpower is the unconditional bit. And that is the bit that can be really difficult. So, loving something, loving your subject, whatever you're using that you love and appreciate to get into that state, that's one thing. But then you want to make sure that whenever you're aiming at anything, it is unconditional. And for those who find that difficult, You're not alone. We are conditioned to not, as we grow up, we're conditioned to not be able to feel unconditional love. Many people don't know what that is, what it means. So even if you're using something like, a beach to get into a good state, first of all, let's say that's your subject. So you imagine being on the beach and it's a beautiful day and the waves are lovely and everything you love about being on the beach. That's great to start with. That's the beginning. But then you want to make sure that you level it up. And the baby step to level it up with that kind of thing is imagine there's clouds and keep the feeling of love and appreciation going anyway. Keep yourself filled with that light, that energy. Fill the whole beach with that light or energy. Then add, something else that's not so nice on a beach. Perhaps put some oil on the sand and keep that love going. And so that's how you level up and you train your brain and your body to be able to go into that state of unconditional love, which is where the power lies. So I hope that helps. The other little tip we wanted to share today, and we've shared this before, but it's worth a reminder, is using color. Because color doesn't have any negative emotions associated with it. If you have a color you love, and some colors may do, but you don't want to use those, of course. You want to use colors that feel good. If you don't have a favorite color, just use any color that you love. Now, when we look at things, you may look at a dress and think, oh, that's a beautiful color. Or you may look at flowers and think that's a lovely color. You may look at a sunset and think, wow, those colors, those oranges, those reds. You may look at a tree and see the green. And green may not be your favorite color, but when you look at a tree. So my sister said this once, when she was asked what her favorite color is, she said, it depends on what it is. My favorite color for sky is blue. My favorite color for grass is green. So you can use that. And so what that is for is to train, to gain control over your brain. And because it's it can be very difficult. So I know I used to, and I said to Steve this morning, I don't want to forget how difficult it was for me so that I can help others. And one of the things was thinking of terrible things that I've heard about, movies I've seen, the loss of someone who died in an accident, that I could not stop thinking of what must have happened. How did he feel? We didn't even know what actually happened, and my brain kept coming up, and I couldn't sleep because it was on its own coming up with that automatically, and I could not control it. So the color can help with things like that. So start with, so every time your brain wanders, bring it back to just that color. And let's say it's yellow. You want to keep bringing it back to the color yellow, and also the name yellow, the word yellow, and the feeling of that particular shade of yellow or purple or blue or whatever it is. Imagine being surrounded by it. So colors have feelings. So as you look at the color, and depending on, what you know and believe, whatever is, they also have vibrations. So you can look at that blue and really dive deep, zoom in on it, zoom in on the color. And if you can't imagine it, have something that is that color, that you can just pick that up. So I've got a red thing here. So let's say red was my color. I can just stare at this and really bring my focus in on the red, just that red, or just that whatever the color is. And as you do that, every time, so this is what's so important, it's not just helping you in the moment. Every single time you do that, you are making new connections in your neocortex of your brain. And each time you do it, you are establishing, you're gaining so those neural connections are not just about the color. What those neural connections include is your ability to control your mind. That's really important. This is not about the color. This is about developing the skill. Just like every time you get back onto a bicycle, you're developing the skill of controlling your balance, controlling your body. This is the same, just with your brain, with your thoughts. So every time you redirect to that color, you are developing the skill of controlling your mind, controlling your brain, so that you no longer have that issue where you can't stop thinking about something that upsets you or triggers you, because you're able to redirect. And then it won't necessarily just be the color, you'll be able to redirect to whatever you want, because you've gained that control. You're able to stay on the bicycle. So I hope that helps. And Steve brought up a really important point this morning, which is be sure to practice that when you're not triggered. So just like you don't wait until you have to go somewhere to practice riding a bicycle. You make sure you practice riding the bicycle when you have the time to practice riding the bicycle, and you don't need to get somewhere. And then when you need to go to the shop, or you need to go to school, or wherever you're going, or work, you know how to ride the bicycle. So you just get on and you go. So this is the same. And the same with it, like an instrument. If you learn an instrument, you don't wait until you have a concert to play before you start learning how to play the instrument. So learn it, practice it when you don't need it, so that it's automatic when you do. So I hope that helps and clarifies some things. So,
Odille, just a quick question to follow up there. I've been using color since March. Should I switch up the color or to something else?
Oh, no, not necessarily. So if that color is working for you, continue to use it. That's great. If that particular color works for you, then that's fantastic, because since you've been using it since March, it's now becoming more and more automatic. Just keep using it deliberately in the moment. You know, when you catch yourself, your attention is wandering to something negative, or you're in a situation where you're dealing with something or someone that's triggering, make sure you bring up that color, the name, and the visual of it, if you can, the feeling of it, so that you are constantly redirecting. If it's not working for you, so let's say you find that that particular color isn't doing it for you anymore, there is no harm in switch. You can switch it every time you do it. It doesn't really matter, because, like I said, the neural networks, the new neural networks that are being formed are about developing your skill and ability to control your thoughts, not about the color. So, for example, if you're learning to ride a bicycle, it's not about you're not learning to ride that particular bicycle. You're developing your balance. You're developing your ability to ride something with two wheels. So I hope that clarifies. So it doesn't matter whether you switch it or not. Just use what it makes it easy for you.
Another word that we were kind of talking about earlier today, I believe, was that we're moving away from that feeling of helplessness in the moment, feeling like there's nothing that I can do, that all of these negative thoughts keep coming at me. And while that's true, and while that may feel like you're completely helpless in the moment, this is giving you the skill to be able to move out of that. So you're training yourself out of victimhood into being able to master or control your brain.
Exactly. Very well put. Thank you, Steve. You're clever, you are. All right. Let's check in with each person. All right. Lisa, how are you today?
Fine. How are you?
Good. Very good.
It is, can you hear me okay?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, great. It is very Feel Good Friday.
Very good.
On a high frequency with fun. Yeah. So, yeah, the color is really, really important. I wanted to show you and share with you the book that I'm doing and dedicating to you guys. It's like, it's coming along and I'm using color. I don't know if you can see the art.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I use like the alien star shower with the nature, and they're hugging the trees, you know.
Lovely.
That's so fun to do. So I keep, and that's it. But that's, you know, that's something that people can do. Just color little things and see, you know, just make the drawings and get into the color, you know, that's an alternative too.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a wonderful idea, actually. If you haven't already, get a coloring book, or even if you don't have a coloring book, get some colored pencils or crayons or whatever. And that's a beautiful way of doing it. Yes.
Yeah. And so I found something to read today. Um, it's just brief, so because I know other people need to be here. So I bless my family with love, because I know the weekend's coming here, and it's 4th of July. So a lot of people will get together, and it's like, sometimes it's like, you know.
Yeah.
So I bless my family with love. Not everyone has the special family that I have, nor do they have the opportunities that are extra to open their hearts in the way my family does and everyone else. We are not limited by what the neighbors think, nor by society's prejudices. We are far more than that. We are a family that comes from love, all of us. And we accept with pride every day every unique member. I am special and worthy of love. I love and accept each member of my wonderful family, and they in turn love and adore me. I am safe. All is wonderful and full of love in my world and your world too.
Fantastic. That's a lovely example. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. That really is very good. And so, while you're following along with what Lisa said, so when you watch this recording, you can rewind and listen to it. This is a great opportunity to listen to what Lisa said and imagine it's you saying it. Apply it to your own new family, and anything that comes up that contradicts it, like "here, right," or "I can't imagine that," address it. This is the perfect opportunity. It's a really good one. So thank you, Lisa, for that.
Sure.
Really beautiful. Good job, you. All right. And Swasti, you're up next. How are you today?
Hello. I am doing quite good, actually.
Good.
Good. So I wrote a due justice letter to my dad, and from my dad's perspective to my grandpa. Yeah, things seem a little bit easier now. But
Yay.
unsticking happened from that, which is good.
Perfect. Good job.
Because I was getting stuck with that a couple of times. Like wherever I went, I would always lead up to my grandma. And yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And thank you for sharing that. And well done for doing it, because I know that there's a lot of resistance to writing these due justice letters. I had it myself, Steve had it, and our clients have it. But do whatever it takes to override that resistance and do it anyway. So thank you, Swasti, number one, for sharing that, and number two, for well done for doing it.
Oh, thank you. And I found that I've been a lot of changes are happening in terms of memory. So I've been pretty exhausted. So I've kind of slowed down, but I'm still, for me, it's always about consistency rather than intensity. That's just my motto for everything. So just doing it even for 15 minutes a day, just changing memories, it's really good, but it's so exhausting as well, especially getting back to studying and then also doing this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good though.
I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah.
So well done for that consistency rather than intensity, because that is very, very powerful. And, I know I used to force myself and push myself because I was raised with working and struggle and all that. That was my natural tendency. And I know a lot of us have that. And so once I started taking it easy, I am doing so much better now than I was then, and I'm working so much less. I don't push. I never push. I go, if I don't feel like doing something, I don't do it, unless if it's something that has to be done, I'll find a way to get into that state where I'm excited to do it. So well done, Swasti. That's really, really good.
Yeah, it's really easy to do things once you're in a good state, because like you said, you'll feel inspired to do it, so you don't have to force yourself. Really good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just had one question today. So with the exam, so whenever I'm doing, so there are 5 sections to it.
Okay.
And 2 of the sections weren't too good. So whenever I'm working on the 2 sections, the anxiety increases, heightens quite badly. Right. Should I change memories of the exam last year, or should I just continue working on the memories that I am working on?
Okay, so the 2 sections that aren't that don't go so well, do you want to share what those are?
Yeah, it's like comprehension and reading. It's called verbal reading and decision making.
And what, sorry?
Decision making.
Decision making. Okay, and that makes perfect sense. because with the pressure and the fact that your parents left you in India, or everything that happened to you as a child will have meant that your prefrontal cortex was offline a lot of the time. And that is what we need in order to comprehend what we're reading, and as well as learning new skills and for decision making. So you were trying, and you did incredibly well to do as well as you did without that part of your brain online most of the time.
Yeah.
So now that you know how to bring that part of your brain back online, it's very different. So it's as if you've been trying to drive with the handbrake on, and you know you've managed to get to get the car started and all of that. Now can you imagine you release that handbrake, boom, you're off.
Accelerate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Because the 3 sections I did do well on, now I wrote them down. So one was maths, you can practice that quite easily. One was like shapes, that's again quite, you just remember the patterns and you can do it easily. And then the other one was like making decisions, like about alcohol and whatever for students. And you can like remember that quite easily. So the remembering part was working, but not the spontaneous. Yeah.
And that's because memory is stored throughout the brain, but it's this part of your brain you need to be for working memory, and for being able to, you know, comprehend stuff and process information and make decisions and all of that. So that's great. So let's look at the comprehension part first. So give me an example of one of the exercises you have to do, or whatever the tasks you have to do, and what happens when you try.
So you're given a passage and you have a question. So there are 2 types of questions. So you have one statement from the passage, and you have to work out whether it's true, false, or you can't tell. And you'll give 30 seconds for that one part.
Okay. So there's time pressure there as well that you had before. Okay. So what happens? So you read the passage, then you get the question, you have the statement, and you have to say whether it's true or false within 30 seconds. What happens when you try to do that?
Well, I can't read the passage. I can barely read the statement because it's so blurry, and I'm just like, oh no. And then I see the clock ticking, and I'm just like, oh god.
That's it. Okay. So at the moment, these are practice things, right? So this is just practice. So the first thing to do is to ignore the clock. Don't look at the clock if you can help it. If it's possible to have your screen so that you don't see the clock, so much the better. But see if you can practice and remind yourself, it doesn't matter. This is just practice. If the clock runs out, you'll just try it again, and you just keep trying, because the repetition is, again, it's not about learning the information, it's developing the skill.
Yeah.
So remember that with all of these practice things you're doing, and it's so amazing that you're saying this, that you brought this up, because this morning I was thinking about, and I don't know what brought it up for me, but I was thinking about my son saying to me, why do I have to learn algebra? I'm never going to use it, you know. And I know a lot of people think that. Why learn advanced maths like algebra, or, you know, historical facts that I'm never going to use? What's with the school system about that? And what I pointed out to him is, it's not about learning the information. It's about developing the skill to think that way. Every time you learn one of these, you know, every time you go through that comprehension exercise, sure, the passage will change, the answers will change, the information will change, but what you're doing is establishing the ability in your brain, the neural network that allows you to be able to comprehend. It's improving your comprehension every time you do it. So the clock does not matter at the moment. The clock is just, that's for later. Right now, you just want to do this over and over in a very calm, relaxed way, as a fun thing if you can. And the way to do that is to think about it without doing it. Just think about, okay, I'm going to do this comprehension exercise. I'm not going to pay any attention to the clock, because it doesn't matter if I get it done in time or not. Think of doing it and the clock running out, and send love to that. Send love to the whole situation, the clock, whether you get it right or not, and do that until you think, yeah, okay, I'm ready to have a go now. And then bring your focus to the passage or whatever you're reading. Now, when you say it's blurry, what do you mean by blurry?
So I will read something, but I won't be able to understand what it says, so I'll have to read it again, which is obviously taking double the time than it should.
Okay, so that is because that part of your brain is going offline because you're anxious about the clock, and you're referring to the fact that you aren't able to do it. You know, past experiences are not able to do it. So try doing it that way, where you're not paying attention to the clock and you're just, but getting to a calm state first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can watch some comedy or listen to some music or do something fun just beforehand to bring that part of your brain online. Get into the superpower state, love the whole thing. So that's it. Now, if you find you still can't, that's okay. It just means you need a little bit more. So in that case, pick random pieces of information from books or on the internet that you haven't read before, and just use that. Then there's no clock. But you're just focusing on reading each sentence and using that part of your brain to comprehend it.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Good. Yay.
Yeah, so, and with the other section, it's quite, I think this is very, very similar. But that part of the section is just quite complicated for me because there's a lot of logical reasoning in there, and logical puzzles, and like twisting of words to catch you out, basically.
And
Yeah.
again, all that is that part, it's prefrontal cortex. It's just number one, having the blood there so that it's online, and number two, creating those new neural networks. So it's only, so, you know, it's like riding a bicycle or an instrument. If you'd never done it before, you're not going to be able to, you don't have the skills yet, but it doesn't mean you can't. It just means you need to develop those skills. And any skill is mostly in the brain rather than physically. Sure, you'll condition the muscles to do it automatically, but the first place it has to start is in the brain. So same sort of thing, like you say, it's a similar thing where the first part is understanding that it's not that you can't, and it's not that you never will. It's just that you haven't created those neural networks yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to create them is, number one, most important thing, to be in a feel-good state, so you've got that part of your brain online. And then number two, just practicing little pieces of it at a time to develop. You know how we can all remember learning the times tables.
Yeah.
At one point, we didn't know what 2 times 2 is, right?
Yeah.
And we had to repeat it over and over. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 2 is 4. And eventually it became established enough, those neural networks became established enough for us to not need our conscious mind anymore. So then that information is there automatically as riding a bicycle once you've learned the skill. And this is exactly the same, no matter what it is. Does that
That's really
help?
reassuring. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome, Swasti.
I'd like to step in and add just one more little fun twist that you can put on this as well. Is can you think of, or is there somebody that you know that would exemplify being able to do those kind of tasks really easily? Somebody either like somebody from fiction, a movie character, somebody that is really smart and could do it really quick.
Yeah, there are a couple of people in my school, but I would say Einstein.
Okay, good. So what you can do is imagine Einstein standing in front of you right now. Okay. And then imagine yourself stepping inside and feel what it feels like to be Einstein. Take on the feeling of what it feels like to be Einstein. What would it be like to be him? And then approach doing some practice problems like Einstein. So get that feeling of, oh, this is a snap. Because what you're doing is you're going into each practice session in the character of the nervous Swasti. And every time she's practicing it, you get back into that feeling of, oh, I'm nervous. I'm not gonna be able to do this. So put on the feeling of, oh yeah, I got this. I'm Einstein. I can handle that. So, you know, allow yourself to practice the feeling of, I can do this very easily. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, when I did that just now, I was like, wow, this is easy.
Okay, good.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Well done, Swasti, and thank you again for sharing all of that. That's wonderful.
Thank you for your help. That was really, yeah, it was really reassuring and useful.
Good. I'm so glad and so proud of you. Good job. All right. And Katrina. Hi, Katrina.
Hi, Odille.
Hey, how are you today?
Well, I'm now feeling normal because I'm back.
Good.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So forget about all of that and just a couple of questions. Is the color to make me feel good? Is that the whole thing behind it?
So the color is to redirect, to give you a focus, an easy focus. Now, when you home in on the color and you appreciate the color, that will automatically start to feel good, because as you do that, as you focus in on what you love about the color, your brain automatically starts producing feel-good hormones. But the purpose of that exercise is when you're thinking about, when your mind wanders off to things that upset you, things that trigger you, things you're worried about, it can be very difficult from there to get into the superpower state, or even to just think of something positive, because your brain is kind of on automatic and it's automatically coming up with all these terrible scenarios. So what it is it's just developing the skill. So what the color is for is to develop the skill of controlling your brain, controlling your thoughts, choosing your thoughts. And so if you think of it as a dog, so this dog, you know, you want to be able to eventually have this dog do what you tell it to do, you know, so it's a trained, you want to train the dog, but you can't just train the dog like that. You need to start somewhere. And so the first thing you want to do is perhaps sit and stay. And then you walk away and the dog gets up and it knows sit. And you've got to keep repeating that, showing the dog sit over and over again. And now you know that the first few times you say sit, that dog is not going to sit or stay, because that's not what dogs do naturally. So you need to repeat patiently and calmly, and you know that it's going to take repetition. And then one day you'll say sit and stay, and the dog will do it. And you'll go, oh, good boy, well done. But that doesn't mean the dog's going to do that every time either, because it still takes more time. So the first time he does it, that's great. And then there'll be a rabbit or a noise, and the dog will, boom, it'll go. And then you go, no, sit, stay, good boy. And that's the way you develop that skill in your mind. Does that help to explain it?
Well, I'm going to practice it over the weekend. I use the color, you've seen salt lamps?
Sorry?
A salt lamp? A salt lamp?
Salt lamp, nope.
Where do I see it? Ah. Oh my God, I've just blown it. I was going to take it up and show it to you, but the lead was too short and it's gone.
Oh, okay.
So the light that comes out from the salt, it's known as a salt lamp. It's like an amber glow.
Okay, yes.
It's beautiful. You see when you're sitting here?
Nice.
So that's what
Perfect.
that's the color I use, amber, this glow.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
So that's a perfect example. So each time you think about something, you know, so you can just sit there doing other things. So let's say you're watching TV, or you're, you know, thinking about something, or you're doing household chores, and then just practice every now and then bringing your focus to that salt lamp, to that color, that amber color. And then you carry on with your day and you bring your focus back, and keep doing that until it's easy.
Okay, I get it now. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. There was something else I was writing down when you were working there with Swasti, which was actually it's what Lisa typed out about your family and how wonderful and how loving everything is.
Oh yes.
So I have written somewhere about my, you know, I love my brothers and da-da-da. So I want to put it to the test. So I have ranked 2 out of 3, but the third one is It's sticky, as in, I probably will, it won't all be loving and forgiving.
Right.
So what
Very
can I do
good.
with that?
Very good. All right. So the first question is, how do you know that that's not possible, or that it's not a good thing?
No, but there's some, how do I know it's not a good thing? But the thing is, I thought in previous sessions, videos, you had said that you should be able to love and no contact. You don't need contact or say hello.
Yes.
But there's something in me saying, if you genuinely have forgiven everything, you should be able to lift the phone and say hi.
Right.
And I don't think I can.
Okay. All right. I see what you mean. Okay. So first of all, there's no shoulds. You don't should anything. You may want to, but you don't have to, right? So if you are wanting to pick up the phone and say hi, but something's stopping you and you feel like, no, but there's something in the way, then you can ask yourself, how do I know? How do I know that I can't pick up the phone and just say hi? What will happen if I do? So if you were to, let's say right now on this call today, in this moment, you were to pick up the phone to say hi, what would happen inside you?
Well, to start with, I would be pretending, as in, how are you? And it's like, I really don't care.
Okay.
I really have a bone to pick.
All right, very good. So let's pin that to the side, and let me ask you then why you want to be able to pick up the phone and say hi. What's the goal there, or the purpose of it?
Because we're family, and I thought, well, I suppose it's the upbringing.
Yes.
Family, all the family rounds us were, well, as I thought, were all a union and happy and dee. And I was thinking, why is this not possible?
Right. So what's wrong with it? What's wrong with not doing it?
It's testing me to see how good I'm being at the work I'm into.
Very good. All right. So you see there's two pieces of references here, two types of references here. So the first one is there's obviously something still there that you're triggered by. So there's still a reference there, and we definitely want to address that. But in addition, the reason I've been asking these questions is because in addition to that, there's another piece of reference here that I should be able to, and testing myself. And if such and such, then I should be able to such and such, right? So that's a reference as well that needs changing. So let's look at the first piece. No, in fact, let's do that one first, because that's going to affect the other one. So why should you? How do you know? So for example, if you don't want to, then what's wrong with not doing it?
No, but I want to. The want to is stronger. I want to, but.
Okay, so let me actually rephrase that. I didn't phrase that very well. What is driving you to want to do that?
Well, because I was talking to Steve earlier, and something came up actually over just in the last 48 hours about not being listened to, and being ignored. It was a huge thing that came up there.
Yes.
And this coronavirus came into play.
Yes.
I sent a message, I phoned, no answer. I text a message and hope all is well, I hope the family's well, and and he has ignored. So now I thought that's okay, that's where he is, but now it's starting to annoy me.
There it is. That's why you want to do it. That's why I was digging, because because if it was just a case of I just want to be able to do it because it'll feel nice, that's different. But there's an underlying driver there, and it's coming from the child in you, because this person did not respond. So so now, what does it mean when someone doesn't respond to you? because we give meaning to things, and not necessarily consciously, but unconsciously. What does it mean to you?
That he's ignoring me.
Yeah. What does it mean when someone ignores you?
Well, with Steve, I was going in a different route, but coming up, if someone ignores me, well, I was going to say, then I'm not important, but that's not true, because no.
and as someone who used to have that issue, I know it really well. So from my perspective, of course, it may be completely different for you, but I know, number one, how strong it can be, and number two, that it can be changed. So I had a very strong thing about being ignored. To me, it was physically painful when someone ignored me. It felt like I didn't matter and they didn't care, you know, all of that. And so, and very often it wasn't. So we very often experience things as someone is doing something to us, and it's about us, and that is natural because that's human, and it's also the way children are. Everything in a child's experience is about them because that's how we're wired. Very often it's that the person didn't get the message, or they weren't listening, they were focused on something else, or they're worried about something, or they've forgotten, or they've got some sort of emergency. Now, it's not always that, but it can be that, but we experience it as personal. We give meaning to it. And of course, it's going to be in your childhood. So the feeling of being ignored or not being important, or whatever that same feeling is in your childhood. And it not necessarily with this particular person, it could be with anybody.
But I wonder, is ignored the right words?
Okay, so you don't need to even give a word to it. Just right now, think about that person and the fact that they didn't get back to you, and you sent the message and you said, you know, hope all's well with the family and all that, and they still have not responded. Home in on that feeling, that emotion. How does that feel to you? You don't have to give it a name or words, but then just look for that feeling in your childhood. Could be a completely different topic, remember, but will be the same feeling.
Can't seem to get it, but I think there seems to be more than, okay, he ignored me, but I think there's something more to it than that.
Yes, because the fact that he ignored you, so what?
So what? Yes. Okay.
So there's got to be some other reference there. Because
but
why?
I don't know what it is.
Childhood, and that's okay. If you don't know what it is, that's okay. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, where in my childhood did I feel this feeling? And it may have been somebody ignoring me. It may not have been someone ignoring me. It may be something else. It may have been somebody died. It may have been we moved house or schools. It may have been my parents got divorced. So it could be anything, but it'll be the same feeling.
Well, I think deep down it annoys me.
Yes. It annoys you. Why?
I'm supposed to be important. Here we're back to being important.
Yes.
I'm his only sister. He only has one sister.
Right.
And he's totally is just oblivious to me. Yes. It's like,
and
what is it?
Your parents only had one girl.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, no, okay.
But they didn't have one girl like that. They didn't behave as if they had one precious little girl.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So am I still annoyed?
Yes. So what it is now you want to create, if no bad memories come up that need changing, create brand new memories from scratch, brand new memories from scratch of your parents putting you first before the boys always. You get special treatment. You're allowed to stay up late when they're not, or you get the first pick of everything. Well, let Katrina choose. She's the girl.
Well, Morris used to be really jealous of that because I used to get things and he would say, and why is she get? We're not getting, we have to wear the same pair of trousers, da-da-da, and there she gets another dress.
Right.
So he was the one that owned in
and
on that.
Here's what you do with that. Of course, you want to change it. Now, the stepping stone for that, just for a bit of fun, might be your parents' answer, sweetheart, if you would like a dress as well, that can be arranged.
To Morris?
Yes. How about that? So that's a stepping stone, just for fun. And then the final thing is that your brothers, no, the next stepping stone, that's the first stepping stone. Another stepping stone, the next one, is that they never question it. They're fine. They don't care about which trousers they're wearing. It's whatever. I'll wear trousers. They're busy with other things. But you're the girl, so you do get all the new stuff, the pretty new things. And then the final memory is that you always get new clothes.
All of us.
Yeah, why not?
Hmm.
Right? Everybody always gets new clothes and you're comparing and you go, oh, do you like this? And the boys are going, oh yeah, that's really cool. That's nice. And look at my new trousers or whatever. So you've got that, then you've got that connection, that bond between all of you. That's why that piece, that's why that final memory is important. But the other two pieces of stepping stone are, you know, they're important in a different way, but they're not necessarily the end result. That makes sense?
Okay. So this will help me to phone him this weekend.
Well, let's look at it. Let's look at that. So if, let's pretend for a moment you had a different childhood. This new childhood is what you had. So you always got, you know, everything that you wanted. You were treated as the only girl, precious, wonderful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then would you be able to, what would happen when you phoned him? Let's say he didn't answer your texts and things, but how would you feel about phoning him if all of that background was different?
Yeah, but there's part of me going like, yeah, that's all well and good because the little one going on here, the dee.
Yes, so because that still needs changing. But let's say it's all changed. So all things equal.
I don't know whether I could trust myself.
Okay, so you'll need to change that. Now let me ask you a very important question. Let's say you phone him. What's the worst case scenario?
But he would be blasé. This happened about a year and a half ago, and then I did pick up the phone, and he was just, I said, how are you? And he gave me the essay of this, that, and the other, on the phone for about an hour, but he never, not one sentence about me.
There it is. So that's what I would say, do not pick up the phone and phone him until you don't have any expectations. Until you know that until you're expecting, I'm going to pick up the phone, he's going to give me a whole essay about how he is. He is not going to ask me how I am, and that's okay. Then you can pick up the phone and phone him. All right, so that's how you'll know you're ready. Now, that may be this weekend, it may not be this weekend. It doesn't matter. The important thing is you're not ready to get onto that bicycle without the training wheels until you're able to keep your balance, until you're able to think of phoning him and worst case scenario, and you're able to feel good about it. And know that when you put down the phone, you go, okay, well, you know, it's lovely chatting with you, and, you know, catch up next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day, weekend, whatever. Bye-bye now. Love you if you say that. If you don't say that, that's okay. Take care, and put the phone down and feeling good about yourself. When you can imagine doing that and there's no expectations and triggers, then pick up the phone, and I would bet money on the fact that that conversation will be different to the way it used to be once you're able to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's excellent, Odille. Yeah.
Good job. And so, of course, use your superpower as well. So change the memories, practice the new memories, create brand new ones that support that little you being treasured above all else and getting everything you should have had. And then, because here's the thing with the important thing, every single child is important. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to feel important. That's natural. It's normal. Every child needs that. So, I heard you say it's about being important again. Absolutely. It's about survival. Should we not want to survive? So make sure there's no judgment there for wanting to feel important. You absolutely should feel important and should want to feel important. Okay, as much as you want to live and be alive. So that, change those memories, create new ones, make sure they're established, and then imagine phoning him. Now, then get into your superpower state and do the target practice that we do here. And you can watch these recordings and follow along, aiming at him, aiming at that whole conversation. Worst case scenario, what's the worst that can happen? Whatever he does and says, keep that filled with that light, that energy, that love it all anyway, love him anyway, exactly as he is, shining the light into darkness. Do that. Then say, okay, so now I'm going to pick up the phone. What's the worst that can happen? Let's say, okay, it's the same as before, or it's even worse than it was before. And how will I feel when I put down that phone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is brilliant. I love it. I love you.
Yay! You're very welcome. I'm so glad. Good job, Katrina. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay.
Very good. All right. And I did see a couple of questions in the chat here. I saw one earlier. I wanted to, there we go. So someone asks, Odille, could you explain why a child can become a very narcissistic person even with no evidence of a difficult childhood? And this is such an excellent question that I wanted to make sure that I answer this one. So, barring brain conditions that are that a child is born with, but that's rare. So, aside from medical situations, an ordinary child with all the, everything normal, who becomes a narcissist has something in their childhood that created that state and that condition. And here's the most important thing. None of us know what anyone else is experiencing or has experienced in their life. Because number one, we don't all share everything with everybody. So there's a lot of secrets, a lot of things that people don't know. And number two, it's not always obvious. So I used to say, here's an example. I would say to people, I had a fantastic childhood. And I really, really believed that. I thought I had the most wonderful childhood. I felt sorry for people who weren't me because I thought I had an amazing childhood. But it was actually my sister started questioning this, and I was angry with her because I thought, how can you say such terrible things? We had an amazing child. We were never hit. We never got hidings. And my sister said to me, Odille, we were beaten. And I was like, nonsense. And then she started reminding me of specifics. And she said, do you remember that thud on the side of your head? And then I was like, oh my goodness. I had completely blocked all of the not nice stuff out. Number one. And number two, my interpretation of things was different. So to me, I could see why we had to work as children. But the subconscious cannot use reason and logic. So I thought that working from a child was a good thing. The discipline was a good thing. Children must be disciplined. You need to smack a child every now and then. This was my belief before. It was ridiculous. It's so foreign to me now. And just because it wasn't a an abusive childhood doesn't mean that they did not have survival instincts kick in at certain things. So when you say, even with no evidence of a difficult childhood, that is, you know, you've got a specific idea of, number one, what a difficult childhood is, and number two, what the evidence would be if it was a difficult childhood. Now, everyone who knew me in my, you know, theater career, my theater friends and everything, nobody knew that I had any issues in my childhood. And that's because I didn't know it, or I didn't recognize it as that. So the one thing you can be sure of is that if somebody is narcissistic or any other issues, personality issues, you can be absolutely certain that there is something in their childhood. It may not be their parents, it may not be their teachers, but something in that child. So also, oh, here, I know it will take a little bit of time, but this is such a perfect example. The twins. So some of you may have heard me tell the story of the twins, Andrew and Martin, twins, and I'll try and be very brief, but this is a perfect example of how a so-called perfect childhood can still result in issues. Martin and Andrew, twin boys, born obviously to the same parents, raised with the same parents, treated the same. Their parents loved them both. They were great parents. And now we fast forward to adults. Martin is doing incredibly well. He has a successful business. He is happily married. He is socially, you know, has a great social life, and he's financially independent. His brother, Andrew, is still living at home with his parents, cannot hold down a job, and is hooked on painkillers, and has a very volatile relationship with his parents. And the parents cannot understand what went wrong, because they were both treated the same. They love them both the same, but Andrew is a problem child. Martin is not. So what happened? So now we go back again to 18 months old, and the mum is pushing the stroller, yeah, in American, pushchair in England, through the park, and there's a dog far away. And Andrew is fast asleep. Martin is wide awake. Martin sees the dog coming over to the pram, to the stroller. He sees it coming, and he's like, oh, doggy. Andrew, fast asleep, is woken with a fright when the dog barks right next to the stroller. And the owner is apologizing. Andrew wakes with a fright and starts crying. And his mum is saying, it's okay, sweetheart, it's just a dog. It says, look, it's a doggy. And Martin is like, oh, doggy. And Andrew is, because what happened in that moment, he was woken with a fright. His brain and body went into survival mode, danger, and he's got stress chemicals pumping through his system. His little heart is beating, and he's like this, and he's not able to comprehend. So although the mother's saying, oh, it's just a doggy, he can't comprehend that. There's no blood in the prefrontal cortex of his brain anyway. So he is in that survival state. Now, the most important thing is the knock-on effect of that. It is not that incident, but what happens afterwards. Now, the next time they go to the park, the mum says, okay, we're going to the park. Martin goes into the pushchair, into the stroller, no problem. She goes to put Andrew into the stroller, and Andrew will not. He's crying. No, I don't want. She's struggling to get him into the stroller, and no one knows what's going on in the background. In the background, his brain has connected the stroller with danger, but no one knows that, including him. So every time she goes to put, and each time it happens, his brain reinforces, this is a bad thing, this is a bad thing, this is dangerous. And so he becomes the problem child, because Martin, and he's being compared, Martin goes in, no problem. So what is the come on, sweetheart. And she's patient, but it builds and it builds and it builds. And then it becomes, his brain starts to develop, it's living in stress chemicals most of the time, and the labels, and even completely unintentionally. Now, these two grow, and at 4 years old, Andrew is hyper because he's on stress chemicals most of the time, and no one knows why he's hyper. He's running through the house and he runs into the corner of a table and he has a gash in his forehead. So it's Saturday morning, so his mum leaves Martin with his dad and takes Andrew to the emergency room. Andrew's got this gash, he's crying, he's in pain, he's upset, he's in shock. Martin spends that Saturday with his dad in the garage where his dad is working on a car, and his dad is teaching him about the tools and hand me this tool. He's helping his dad, so that bond is forming. In the meantime, Andrew is in the emergency room in pain. You can imagine, so these two boys start school from a completely different perspective. Martin is confident. He's got this strong bond with his dad. He's not living in stress chemicals most of the time because he doesn't have the same programming that Andrew already has. Now this builds because they start school. Martin is confident, Andrew is not. Andrew is still living in stress chemicals. Martin makes friends easily because he's in that state. Andrew doesn't make friends easily. Martin is good at sports because he's able to have his coordination. He's got the ability to have his coordination. Andrew doesn't, and so these two go in completely different directions. Now, people say, but Martin is fine. What's wrong with his brother? They had a great childhood. But no one knows the original, how that happened. Now, we can't know that about everybody. But what we can know is that if somebody's got issues as an adult, there's something in their childhood that created that. So I know that was a long answer, but hopefully it helps to explain it. And so there's quite a lot here. So I'll try and I have another question. I had 10 different full-time babysitters when I was a child because my parents worked a lot. They weren't very nice. How should I change those memories? Should I eliminate them from my memory and put my parents instead, or make them nice? So I would do both. I would do a stepping stone where all your babysitters were like Mary Poppins, or whoever would have been fun. Make them fun. Change any bad memories to the opposite, positive and empowering, and include brand new memories of just fun activities like, water fights and trampolines and ponies and fun fairs and whatever feels good. And then put your parents there so that your parents weren't working all the time. They spent all of their time with you. And so you have those same fun activities with your parents. So I hope that helps. And that's the final memory. Okay, you say, wow, thank you for the answer and the story. Good, you're very welcome, and I hope that helps. Steve, if you want to help me with if there's any questions that I still need to answer, because there's quite a lot here. So
Yeah, I think I've kind of dealt with some individually, so I think that we're good because I know that we're kind of over on time right now. So, yep, I think we're good for now.
Okay. So let's take a deep breath and let's do some targeting. So Steve, if you could send me the targets, please. Thank you. And go into that state, that superpower state, however you do it, using your word or phrase or your anchor, or focusing on your subject. And allow that light, that energy to shine out from your heart, expanding your chest, and allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head and out to your fingertips, so you're full of that light, that energy. Very good. And fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body with that same light, that energy, that love. Love each cell just for existing. Very, very good. And now fill your subject with that light, that energy. Love them just for existing. And then imagine your subject either doesn't want to be with you, or there's something that is not, they don't have one of the qualities that you appreciate and love about them. And keep them filled with that light, that energy anyway. Love them exactly as they are. Good job. And now let's go to Sylvie. Fill Sylvie with that light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips, love Sylvie just for existing. And now allow that light, that energy to overflow from Sylvie and fill her mum with that same light, that energy from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Fill Sylvie's mum, that light, that energy, and love her just for existing no matter what, shining that light into any darkness. And whether Sylvie gets triggered or not, love her exactly as she is. Love anything that triggers her, shining that light into any darkness, filling it all with love exactly as it is, whatever experiences are there. Very good. And now let's go to Lisa. Fill Lisa with that same light, that energy from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Lisa just for existing. Good job. And now to Swasti. Fill Swasti with that same light, that energy from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Swasti just for existing. And now allow that light, that energy to fill the part of Swasti that doesn't find it easy sometimes to change memories. So whether she finds it easy to change memories or not, keep that part filled with that light, that energy. Love it anyway, exactly as it is, shining that light into any darkness. Very, very good. And now to Katrina. Fill Katrina with that same light, that energy, that love. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Katrina just for existing. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Katrina and fill her family relationships, the part of her that feels not important, doesn't feel important, the being ignored, the brother, all of it. Fill all of it with light and energy. All the worst case scenarios, love them all anyway, exactly as they are, shining that light into any darkness. And now to everyone who's off camera today on this call and everyone who's watching the recording, fill all of them with that light, that energy, from the tips of their toes to the top of their head and out to their fingertips. Love each one just for existing. Very, very good. And now yourself later today, fill that version of you with that light, that energy, that love, no matter what, whatever you'll be experiencing, whatever you'll be feeling or doing. Love that version of you exactly as you are, shining that light into any darkness. And now, picking a target, so something that triggers you, whether that's something in your life or something in the world, some sort of target, a person, an event, circumstance, whatever it is, and aim this light, this energy at that, no matter what, exactly as it is, without needing it to change, shining that light into any darkness, and surge. Very good. And surge again. Good job. And one more time. Very, very good. Good job. And now open your heart and receive the love from everybody else, including me. Filling each of you with that love, that light, that energy, loving you exactly as you are. Good job. You can open your eyes. There we go. We will be back, of course, on Monday, same time, same place. I'll set up the new registration page for those who like to get the reminder emails. And have a fantastic weekend. Look after yourselves. Keep practicing. And hopefully that's helped you to get through the weekend. All right. Lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye now.